Hey, how's it going, everybody? Tall Tesla guy here. So I'm coming to you with something that's exciting, something that I've been talking about for a while. You guys have seen the other videos that I put out there talking about the Model 3 refresh. Now, this was out of the heels of Project Highland. They changed a couple of things on the Model 3 on the inside and out. We'll go into that a little bit as well. But one of the things that we always kind of thought was that maybe, just maybe, they'll do some changes to the Model Y as well. And then we've got some leaked information. We got some information that came through on some of the things that might actually be changing in the Tesla Model Y coming up probably in 24, maybe 25, depending on if Tesla gets their stuff together. So we're going to dive into all that today and talk about a couple other Tesla things. So sit back and relax. You guys are watching the Tall Tesla guy. So you guys know by now for sure that Project Highland, the secret coded Tesla project, was actually a change or modification to the Model 3. Now the Model 3, as you guys know, was one of the first Tesla for everybody cars, I guess, that they launched back in 2018. They had the Model S, the Model X, the sort of the Roadster if you were in that space, but really the first sedan that anybody could sort of get. And in fact, it came out at $35,000 when it first launched, and there was a credit available still, about $5,000 or whatever for an EV credit. Tesla hadn't sucked it all up yet. So the Model 3 came out and it was a four-door car. It was, for the family, that sort of thing. It still had Tesla feel and Tesla muscle and speed and all that kind of stuff. But it was really their first kind of foray into that. The Model 3 sold phenomenally well. It did really good. In fact, it outpaced the Model S, the Model X, certainly the Roadster, quickly becoming Tesla's #1 selling vehicle. And their plan, not even 2 years later, was to launch the Model Y, which was actually shared about 70% of the same parts as the Model 3. However, it did have a hatchback. It had a little bit more space in it, a little bit more cargo space, a little more room on the inside. The seats were on brackets that pushed them up a little bit. That's the vehicle that I have, as you guys know. And at 6'5", I can say I fit a little bit better in the Model Y than I did in the Model 3 when we drove it around before. I love the panoramic glass roof. I love the styling of the car. But the Model Y, as it came out in 2020, quickly surpassed the Model 3. And in fact, since then has become Tesla's #1 selling vehicle, the #1 selling EV globally, certainly in the United States, and then every other place in the world. They sell more Model Ys than any other car. Now, this is any EV across the board. So with that in mind, Tesla started doing some changes and making some adjustments to the car. Now, they don't do stuff like typical auto manufacturers in that they don't do yearly changes. Like you'll see the new Ford this and the new Chevy that or whatever it is. They just don't do that. Tesla doesn't. They make minor software changes because essentially Tesla is a software company that sells a car. A lot of people think of it that way in a sense. So they'll do software updates all the time. In fact, I get them 3 or 4 times a month. They'll change the maps, they'll change the screen, the design, add games, whatever it is. But the majority of the changes that Tesla does is within the software of the car. However, every once in a while, they do make exterior changes. Now, they did it on the Model Y a little bit with some repeater cameras and things like that. But the majority of the changes that they made with their car outside of the S and X have been in the Model 3. They added some cameras, they did a chrome delete on the outside, some styling things. And then, but for the most part, the car actually stayed the same. It pretty much looked the same as it did in the beginning. And unless you had a keen eagle eye and you were looking for those matrix headlights or something like that, you probably didn't notice it unless you're, kind of paying attention as much as we do. So if you take that aside, you could say that Tesla hasn't really done anything to the car. Well, Project Highland came out, and it came out a couple of years ago. They leaked in some information. Elon talked about it in one of the earnings day calls. And what we found out through this leak was that they were changing the styling of the car. They were adding some cameras in there. The technology on the inside was going to be different. They were removing the stalks. It was going to be all hepatic controls within the steering wheel. It was going to offer a yoke steering wheel if you wanted it for the Model 3. They changed the way the steering wheel looked in general anyway. But more importantly, they actually made it a little bit more swoopy on the front. So instead of being the design you see now where it's got that big scoop in the front, that kind of the bug collector, you have it's slightly different, almost taking some styling choices from the Roadster, which was actually pretty exciting. It's going to be the first time that you see head-to-head comparison between the old Model 3 and the new one, and you could notice discernible changes in it. Well, what I thought was, when are you going to change the Model Y? Now, I know it's only been out for about 3 years, but we're coming on 4. And it would be exciting to see some of those changes in the Model Y, mainly the steering wheel, the stalks, the cameras, the suspension. They're talking about putting an air suspension in it. And one other thing that they did that I am particularly excited about is with the new Model 3 Highland, they're actually talking about changing the seats. Now, I love the seats. I love the seats in the car. I think they're comfortable. They designed them for a passenger. In fact, for me, essentially, because the person who designed it, Fran's working hand in hand with Elon. They designed he's 6'4", I think. So they designed seats from the ground up for somebody that's actually taller, which is nice. I love it. I love the space and everything in it. But it would be nice to have a couple more adjustments, maybe a couple more things in it, cooled seats, maybe something like that. But things like that is what I get excited about. I get excited about it. I don't mind the bug collector on the front of the car. I wouldn't mind if it scooped down a little bit more, make it, changed it a little bit. Maybe have different cameras. The air suspension would be nice, though it doesn't really bother me too much. But I know my passengers talk about it every once in a while. It'd be nice to have that air suspension that you can kind of adjust a little bit depending on where you're driving. They've even showed a Model Y with rugged tires off-roading. I would never take my Model Y off-roading, just because I wouldn't. It's my daily driver, but it's nice to know that you could do it, I guess, have that air suspension that adjusts. Now, I know the Model X has it already. The Model S, I believe, has it. So it's one of those things. The Cybertruck is going to get it. If you see this here, this Cybertruck has it. It's got the air suspension in it. I don't know why it wouldn't, but it'd be kind of nice to have it. Nice to make some changes in it. And then maybe they'll steal some stuff from other EVs. Like I know the Ford Lightning has a drain port in the front that you can actually fill it with ice. Not that I would, but it'd be nice to have something in there in case something spills. You could hose it off maybe. Little things like that would be nice to add. And who knows what'll come down the road. But one of the exciting things for me about this whole thing is that they're actually taking into mind some of these suggestions, these changes. They're, revamping the company, revamping some of these things that come with it. And this is probably most likely on the heels of some of the things that we saw with the fact that Tesla was able to sell all these other EV manufacturers, except for maybe one. I think Lucid's the only one that's not on there. Or, yeah, Rivian's on there. I think it's just Lucid, the one that's left. As far as every other EV has adopted the NACS or Tesla's NACS charging standard, which the downside they'll be charging is superchargers, taking up our stalls. But the upside is that it'll be universal across the board, and everybody will be able to experience this fast charging that we get with the Tesla supercharger market. But what the company is doing, Tesla, they're actually valuing it at potentially $1 trillion company or $1 trillion endeavor anyway, which is huge. Something like that is going to bring all this extra money in there, and the company's going to be able to use this extra money to further develop and grow and change and adjust and manage the company, which I think will be good. I think it'll be allow them to produce finally the Cybertruck, maybe the ATV like you see back there, but actually a real model of it. Something like that to bring it into the mix and to get us to a point where we can be enjoying some of these sort of changes that the company has, or that the company's been talking about for years. I know new battery technology, with the 4680 battery, with the lithium ion batteries instead of the NiCad, or instead of the lead cobalt batteries, or the lead phosphate batteries. I mean, I think things like that are actually going to further accelerate the EV space, further accelerate EV adoption, and then you'll find more things, more charging places, more supercharger locations, more EV friendly kind of spaces, which will be nice if you take the car on long road trips like we do occasionally. And just overall EV adoption is good for everybody anyway. So there's so many more things coming down the pike. I really appreciate you guys tuning into the channel, watching the videos. If you haven't already, think about hitting that like, subscribe button. But either way, I hope you're having a fantastic day, week, month so far, and that you're able to get out and enjoy whatever weather you have, and that you're staying safe out there. Thanks for watching, everybody.